IVM.
Hey guys, even though Elon Musk is trying to turn everyone into robots, you'll be happy to know that very real human beings work at IVM Podcast, and some of them are even cool. How do I know? Well, listen to their own podcast, IVM Likes, where they recommend what they are listening to, watching, or reading. Catch IVM Likes every Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And may I recommend the IVM Podcasts app?
Hello and welcome to Geek Fruit Podcast. My name is Dinkar and with me is our very own Jigs of the Jungle, Jishnu Guha.
Oh, so...
Jigs of the Jungle.
I'll take that.
Jigs.
That's the best one yet.
How does it? Watch out for that tree. Did you ever see that movie, George of the Jungle?
Of course I did.
You watched George of the Jungle?
Hey.
Might
Brendan
have-
and I go way back.
A young Brendan. Okay, what is the plot of it? It's a Tarzan who's dumb. This is the conceit of it. Now the Tarzan's very smart.
Basically, yes. And Jane is smarter than the average Jane.
Who's Jane? Oh,
Baba.
like the Tarzan Jane. Okay.
Come on, not Jane.
She's not
fucking
actually called-
Jetson. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
Don't
just
call it Jane f***ing Jetson.
Except he's
Watch your mouth.
dumber than the average Tarzan. And she's smarter than the average Jane. And he's got more rhythm than usual. I mean, like, cartoon Tarzan is great, but that's all Phil and not really Tarzan. But George of the Jungle, I think he is more himself involved in percussive instrumentation.
Do you remember this Tarzan song? I think it was by Aqua that goes like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. I am Tarzan from jungle. You can be my friend. Is that Aqua?
No. Keep going. I forget.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I am Jane something.
No, sorry. One more time.
Then there's the refrain, of course, the rap refrain, which goes like, hey cheetah, get banana. Yo monkey, get funky.
Oh my god! I remembered all of it except that, and I'm
That's
really
the
glad.
best-
That's the best part.
That's the best
I'm
part.
so glad I remember that now. Thank you
Hey
for that.
cheetah, get banana. Yo monkey, get funky.
Oh my goodness!
You know how I know Tarzan's an
Wow.
idiot?
That was so good. What? Why?
Because he looked at his monkey and went like, oh, I shall call this monkey Cheetah. He's an idiot.
What does he call a cheetah?
A monkey, I suppose. Or
Hey,
Rahul, because
why-
Rahul is a cheetah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Why can you not play poker in the jungle?
Because, oh, I love this. Okay, why can you not play poker in the jungle? Because there's no chips there. There's no deck of cards. You can't maintain a poker face. I don't know, I give up. This is really tough.
Because of all the cheetahs.
Oh, Lord.
So Amazon has a show.
My bad. I said
And-
this was really tough, but I meant this is really dumb. I'm just trying to put off talking about this show, Jigs. You gave me a homework assignment.
You didn't. So did you finish it?
No, you said watch 3 episodes. Guess how many episodes I watched?
Well done. I will admit to you, when you said...
Just to set the context, because this is such a generic
Yes.
name that I don't think our listeners would have understood from the title alone.
Fair
We're
play.
talking about the Amazon Prime show, The Boys. Now continue.
Okay. So it sounds like... I think when you said, hey, can we only watch the one episode because I just watched one and I'm done? I had finished seeing
I
3.
wanted to switch the topic entirely.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But then I found out you were too far gone.
I was too far gone. I'd finished 3.
Yes.
Maybe I'd started 4. Yeah, I think I was watching it when you said, hey, can we not do this? And I was like,
And,
I'm
okay.
halfway through.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
These are 1 hour long episodes.
Yes.
Not 42 minutes.
Yes,
1 hour.
Yeah, this was 8 hours of my life. This was
Yeah.
a work day. I went to work and I saw a show.
Quite literally.
So the thing is, I agree with you to an extent. Because
So basically, I started
it
watching
gets
and
better.
Halfway through the first episode, I complained on the WhatsApp group that we all share.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about this show? For a couple of reasons. A, I was not super into it. B, it feels like the kind of content that's there to fill like a checkbox
know.
on Prime Video's
Yes
job
and
list.
no. Yes and no.
And I was just like, why are we talking about this? Especially when we haven't talked about like other Prime Video shows
I
like
know.
Good Omens. I don't know
I
how
know.
we didn't talk about Good Omens.
We had other things to see, I guess. And
Two
now
of our
there
favorite
isn't
dudes
much.
in a show
I know.
from
we'll
a
get
book
there.
by two of our favorite authors.
We'll get
Do you? I don't know if I would say Terry Pratchett is I haven't read a lot of Terry Pratchett.
Likewise.
Because, I mean, basically he feels like a sci-fi Wodehouse and there's so much going on. But Neil Gaiman, man.
But I was very disappointed with American Gods. So
the show, right?
The show,
I never even watched that
and
show.
You're all the better for it.
I heard the episode you did on it, and it just sounded like a real muddled.
Yes, exactly. I still don't know what I watched. I've watched the whole damn thing, and I can't explain a thing about that show to you. Anyway, point is,
okay, we're getting to the boys.
You're not totally off the mark by being quick to judge this show, because you're right. Your judgments hold. However, as the show progresses, I finished seeing it.
It gets better.
It gets better, and so I guess we're not going to spoil it because you haven't finished it. But what I can say is that
what's that to spoil?
No, it's got a little bit here and there. So this is one of the few times where we're not spoiling something, so let's embrace that.
Yeah, that's good.
We spoil 90% of the things we talk about.
Just to set context, this is a show that is adapted from a series of graphic novels, I believe, or like a comic book series.
Graphic novel, yeah.
A graphic novel. Written by Garth Ennis, who's the dude who's done Preacher and stuff. I haven't actually read any of his stuff. I've read a little bit of Preacher, and it wasn't for me. Sure. It's like the kind of aren't we being edgy and adult here kind of thing that I wasn't super into. I believe The Boys is in a similar mold, and the book, I mean. And looking at the show, that is probably right. And it's produced by Seth Rogen, among others.
Yeah.
And Eric
Goldberg
Kripke.
and Rogen.
Goldberg and Rogen.
Yeah, but Kripke is the main
the creator, right?
showrunner of the thing.
Who created Supernatural, which is how I've heard of him, but I've never watched Supernatural.
Likewise,
have you?
No.
A show that ran for like 14 seasons or something. That's nuts, man.
So
I know a couple of people who are super into that show. It's essentially a soap opera with some supernatural stuff thrown in.
Bang on, nail on the head. So that's the thing. This show felt like I hate to use the word gritty for the millionth time, but a grittier version of CW shows. So CW shows are exactly what Supernatural is like. It's like that vein of 24 episodes. It's like my beloved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like that long drawn out format where every episode has like a nugget of something to keep you going, and then the rest of it is just fun, but not fun that will last. It's just like, it's amusing while you're watching it, but it's forgettable. You know what I mean? So in that vein, this show tried to cross two pretty different genres, I think.
Wait, just to check, you've seen the whole thing now?
I have.
You have finished all 8 hours of this?
I have finished all 8 of
wow.
this. And I was stunned. I was stunned.
You did a job.
But that's the thing. That's my point. I was stunned that I was able to do it, even though not the whole time, but a lot of times, there were several moments in every episode where I just like that nose pinching facepalm of like, are you really doing this move?
Yeah.
Are you really, you haven't earned this. You can't do that. But then the brazen sort of callous attitude of, you know what, I can and I will. If the fact that they keep doing that in every episode unashamedly is weirdly endearing. And so while I think it's not every shocking moment of blood, gore, and sex is earned, and every episode has a moment where you genuinely cringe and feel uncomfortable by design, that usually is a great move to do when I give a shit. But if I don't give a shit, I'm only reacting to the visceral nature of what I'm seeing, but not on an emotional level of connecting with the character.
Exactly. It's provocation for the sake of it, right? It's like, well,
it was
what if we just
gratuitous.
had nudity everywhere?
Exactly. It was a little more than a little gratuitous. But to its credit, I think that the cast is actually quite
I feel like
something.
The cast is the
really
best thing
shine.
about the show.
They really
Literally
shine by the end.
Everybody, particularly Carl Urban.
Absolutely.
And the lady who was Hope in Jessica Jones.
Who was Hope in Jessica?
She plays Starlight here.
She was Hope in Jessica. Oh my God. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Well done.
I really liked her as well. She kind of brought this
That being said,
light to the show.
I see what you did there. I liked her. I did not enjoy her relationship dynamic with Jack Quaid.
I haven't seen. Huey, so at the stage I stopped, which was 3 episodes in, which was my assignment. It's only just begun. They've
no
met like
major
twice.
Spoilers. The whole thing is a will they, won't they, and by the end of
obviously.
it's not the season doesn't even end.
And they're on
the season doesn't even
sides.
end in the most satisfying closure.
Oh,
Coming on.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, before we get into this.
Right.
This is a very nondescript show. It's called The Boys, the most generic name possible.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's talked about a lot, probably because no big names in the cast. Seth Rogen and gang aren't that involved.
Here's
They're
the thing.
Producers.
Let me just stop you right there.
Yeah.
I'm with you in that, yeah, it's not being talked about a lot because I myself didn't have a damn clue about it until I read somewhere that it's apparently the most watched thing on Amazon in the entire run of Amazon history.
No way.
Or something to that effect. It's killing on Amazon.
Really?
It's their big ticket item right now. Now what helps is the fact that it was a darling at Comic-Con, because anything these days that is an adaptation of a graphic novel or comic book that's written by a well-reputed, respected showrunner immediately gets top billing on namesake alone, right? The talent involved, apart from Karl Urban, isn't anybody to like phone home about.
And Karl Urban isn't like a big name, is he? He's
a cult name. Like he's been around. He's been in a lot of things for a while, but he just hasn't like.
Star Trek is what I know him from.
Star Trek's the biggest.
Like, basically, I saw him go like, hey,
you didn't see him in
like
Xena as Caesar? No.
I never watched
He's
Xena.
been around for a while.
Right.
He's been around for a while and he's amazing. I love that guy. So I was very happy to see him back.
He's cool.
But my point is, it got a lot of buzz within the super specific nerd fan base at Comic-Con. Because if you
I can see that.
They got freaking Hall H.
Again, perhaps
if you have an Hall H item, you're going to get guaranteed eyeballs. The problem here is that the show premise itself, I forget who put it as such. Maybe it was you. Somebody mentioned to me, it's like, it's just a lesser Watchmen. And it's like, you're not wrong.
Might have been me. Because,
that's not the whole story, but you're not at all wrong to say that. But the thing is that the show's concept, the narrative, the character work, the cast alone is not enough to put butts in seats. Mm-hmm. It's purely on the preconceived notion of the book.
I can see this being buzzy for a certain breed of comic book nerd.
Yeah.
The same way that Preacher had such a buzz about it before it began. Another show written by, based on a property by Garth Ennis and produced by Evan and
Seth
Rogen. It had the same buzz, which kind of tapered off once people actually saw the show and went like, there's a dude whose face is a butt in the show. So maybe I'm not going to watch this. Like literally the same thing, right? So I can see a certain kind of comic book fan being really into this series, both the comic book and the show. I don't know if it's for a general audience.
Here's the thing. It feels to me like they're bridging the gap between the CW, family-friendly, very, how do I put it? Very bingeable because it's easy popcorn viewing. Although this is the furthest thing from family friendly.
You don't want to watch this with any food near you.
No, yeah.
There's some viscera in there.
The beat structure of this, the plot pacing of this is very standard episodic soap opera of that CW.
It's
niche,
got that CW feel where you can tell that entire sequences are there just to pad out the runtime.
Pretty much, right?
Where like an entire scene happens at the end of it, you're like, wait, what did I just watch? Just people going like, I mean, it's the thing where they get to, say, the hideout and they go like, let's walk into the hideout. And then there's an entire scene where they just like walk up to the hideout slowly and open the door, as opposed to another show which just cut to them inside.
Pretty much. But it's bridging between CW and HBO.
Yeah.
It's trying to fill the void of dragons and boobs.
Right.
Since we don't have that anymore, this is at the moment, I think, one of the biggest ticket items to scratch that itch for you. Mm-hmm. But the difference is when we first were introduced to the gratuitous nature of Game of Thrones, it was built on a really profoundly well structured and written narrative.
Yeah.
And beautiful characters that were just milked in the most perfect ways. I kind of feel like I'm watching season 7 of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like I'm starting at season 7.
Yeah.
It's like this show has everything that show has. Mm-hmm. We don't have dragons, but we have, laser eyeballs and we have face melting stuff genuinely. To that end, VFX, pretty solid. Except for eye things. Every time somebody had glowing eyes, I was like, nobody. No.
Yeah, that looks
just
like a last minute just
completely.
add a filter.
I was like,
and one of the main characters,
thing.
her entire power, Starlight's power,
and
is,
Homelander.
And Homelander is an eye thing.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
okay, in fact, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break. We'll come back, and I'll just give our listeners the gist of the story, so that they can pretend to know about what happens in the show when they're talking about it at parties, but not actually have to watch it. I'd like to do that service for them.
That's a good service. I'll come back for that service.
After this break.
Hello and welcome to another awesome week at the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Don't forget to take a screenshot of whatever podcast of ours that you're listening to. Take a screenshot and put in a comment about what you think about the show, and we will reshare it from our social media pages. Here's what's in store for you this week. On The Seen and the Unseen, Amit Verma is in conversation with historian Srinath Raghavan. They talk about the complicated history of Jammu and Kashmir, the recent abrogation of Article 370, and what the future might hold. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam Gupta is joined by Vishal Sabharwal, EVP E-commerce and Digital Marketing at HDFC Life. They discuss life insurance and its importance, different investment options offered by HDFC Life, and more. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farhad talk to drag queen Sushant Divgikar about his journey of representing one's community and why is it important. On our Kannada podcast Thalya Harte, Varun Ramachandra talks to Pawan Srinath about his life in political sciences and political philosophies. On Football Shutball, Gaurav, Karthik and Sivaram discuss the Manchester City vs Tottenham match. They touch upon the Neymar saga and Roberto Pereira dancing to Bazigar O Bazigar. On the Geek Fruit podcast, Jishnu and Dinkar break down and give their take on the brand new TV series The Boys. On Golgappa, host Trupti Khamkar is joined by Daniel Mendonça, a gender rights activist who talks about being sex positive and inclusiveness. He also shares his experience of representing India at the UN. On Water Player, Mikhail, Akash and Siddharth talk about Chris Gayle breaking Lara's record, Kedar Jadhav's comparison with Vicks, Rafael Nadal and his sneakers, Arsenal fans and a lot more. On Simplified, Chuck and Sriket talk to crossword setter for The Hindu Tony Sebastian about crossword puzzles and what goes into setting them. And with that, let's get you back onto your show.
Welcome back to the Geek Fruit Podcast. We are talking about The Boys. So the premise of The Boys, Jishnu, you know this because you've slogged through 8 hours of it. But basically, it's a world much like ours. It's something like the 2000s. There's real world touch points. Like there's Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show. And like apparently Seth Rogen and stuff exist in it. Right? But the main difference is that superheroes are a given part of the world. It's kind of like how mutants are just a part of the world in the X-Men. Superheroes exist there all around. Lots of people just happen to be superheroes. And there are 7 superheroes in particular who are seen as essentially the analog of the Avengers in the MCU. So they're called the 7. They're headed by a Captain America equivalent called Homelander.
More Superman than Captain America.
Actually, yeah.
Captain America, color scheme, Superman powers.
Yep. You're exactly right. His cape is the American flag. But yes, he's basically a Superman equivalent.
See-through walls, laser vision, flight.
All the same powers, right?
Everything pretty much.
There's a couple of others. There's a dude called A-Train who's basically a Flash.
Yep, but looks like the Falcon.
Who else? There is
the Wonder Woman knockoff,
Queen Maeve.
Whose powers are actually kind of ambiguous. I mean, it's like she's like the most generic.
She things.
She punches things and can jump and stuff. And
she punchy and she jumps.
She's quick and bulletproof.
She jump hella high. There's Translucent, who's an invisible man.
Yeah.
Basically, the others don't matter. These are the main guys. Now, the 7, the Avengers.
You must mention the Deep.
Oh yeah, the Deep is like the lame Aquaman of the bunch.
He's a lame Aquaman, casual rapist.
Yeah. Casual rapist. Yeah.
There are a lot of casual rapists in this show.
So the 7 are essentially contracted by a firm called Watt, right?
Yep.
Who is this like evil...
You need to emphasize that V. It's not what, it's Vought.
It's Vought, yes. It's VOUGHT. like, what the f*** is going on?
Yeah.
All right. So this mega corporation essentially signs on superheroes and treats them kind of like...
commodities, products.
Like NBA players, I want to say. Like
Pretty
they
much.
license them out to cities. They license them out to... like commercials and endorsement deals and stuff like that. So essentially they have this monopoly on the superhero business, and what happens is, because of the money and the power involved with being a superhero in a corporation like this, these superheroes, them is dicks. They're terrible. So pretty much everyone is some fashion of depraved, druggy, alcoholic, something along those lines, and
megalomaniacal.
Yes, definitely very megalomaniacal. Super arrogant, and
douchebags of the highest order.
Douchebags of the highest order is a good way to put it.
And the general plot of the good guys versus bad guys is here the superheroes are the bad guys. The good guys are your everyday blue collar.
In theory, they're supposed to save the world, and they do, but also they're tremendous dicks.
They save the world, but then it's convoluted, and the 8-episode arc is unraveling a conspiracy that Carl Urban brings to the table to Jack Quaid's character, Huey, who is our everyday man, our eyes
Huey's
for the
essentially
audience.
like I have to talk about this. I mean, essentially, it's the inciting incident, but Huey is a mild-mannered employee in a... you know what? He calls himself a James Taylor and Billy Joel fan, yet I saw him at various points wearing a Van Halen t-shirt.
Oh, he's wearing his shirt game is...
Nirvana t-shirt.
He brings out the Billy Joel and James Taylor shirts in later episodes. He has a full circle arc with his clothing.
So he's super into James Taylor, and in fact, at one point, when he's confronted by a choice where he has to, like, he can either make the bold move of trying to save the world or go back to his regular life, essentially like a blue pill, red pill situation. He goes like, do you know who my favorite musical artist is? James Taylor.
Second Simon and Garfunkel.
Second Simon and Garfunkel. And I was like, you're literally wearing Van Halen t-shirts around. What is wrong with you? Anyway, so he is this super shy, mild-mannered employee in an electronics store of some sort who, I mean, there's no better way to describe this than to just say he's standing on the street with his girlfriend when his girlfriend is pulverized by a speeding A train who is the Flash. Like basically 1 minute he's standing there holding her hands and the next minute the Flash equivalent, the A train, runs through her and there's just a pile of blood and guts and he's still holding her hands. I saw that and I was like, yup, I don't like this show. And this was like 5 minutes in.
Well, see, now that's where you and I differ, because I enjoyed...
I mean, just as a caveat, I'm not the biggest fan of like gore and like visceral
and
stuff.
I have seen both Human Centipede movies, so I'd like to believe I have a higher tolerance for it. However, it was really challenged. My tolerance for blood and gore was really challenged because, for example, that opening episode that has that moment, that is the crux of Jack Quaid's entire character arc, right? And it's that incident that incites Carl Urban to come and meet him and say, hey, I know that happened to you because it happened to you. Aren't you mad? I know a way for you to get even.
Carl Urban's character is called Billy Butcher.
Billy Butcher.
So he's like basically some sort of shady, independent dude who
he's basically...
for some motivation that I don't know yet is working against the superheroes, trying to unravel the conspiracy.
Basically. So it becomes him, the two of them rounding up a team of two more Butcher's old compadres who've done similar things.
And one dude called Mother's Milk.
And
so that lady also, right?
Which the FBI lady?
The CIA called The Female or something like that.
The Female?
Yeah, she's in the poster.
Yes,
so that's
yes,
why, like she hasn't entered the group yet.
Yeah.
But she's on the poster.
It's hard for me to explain it without spoiling too much.
So
but anyway, the point is
the titular boys.
These are our guys, right? And so it's the everyday man versus the superheroes bringing down the pedestal that they're on and saying, look, they're not everything you think they are. They're actually really bad people and they do really messed up things. So the whole
which I will say is a very strong and interesting premise because I mean essentially like we were discussing, Watchmen is basically the same thing. What if superheroes were around, common, and also just corrupted by the power they wield? But yeah, go on.
So it's a solid premise, and it's basically one big long murder mystery type of conspiracy thing, which is not too bad at all. I think it's with the if you just look at the simple beats of how the story moves along, I was pretty happy with it. But coming back to the previous point of the gore and you having issues with that very first scene, I was equally like, whoa, what the hell is going on?
I had two issues. First of all, I was like, this is gory in a way where you know the guys making it were like, put more blood in there. Let's shock our viewers, like edgy for the sake of it. And secondly, it was, it's meant to be this like big emotional beat, like, man, sometimes life can shock you kind of moment. But it just looked really dumb to me. I was like, ugh, this show is dumb.
Right. So that happens a lot.
Yes.
Now, that continues in both, the graph moves in both, X and Y. It becomes more frequent as we go through it.
Yeah.
but they also get grosser. They get pretty freaking gross. To the point in which...
What is the grossest thing that happens? I'll tell you the grossest thing that's happened so far in what I've seen. This lady is sitting on the face of a dude that she's having sex with.
Death by butt.
Yes. Yeah. She's like... she literally crushes his face with her butt.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Compare that with... to get retribution on the Deep, who... as I mentioned, is a casual rapist.
Yep.
He also gets casually raped. But not in any human orifice. Because the Deep, to one-up Aquaman, the Deep has gills. I won't tell you where these gills are.
My God.
And here's the thing. This is where the show... This is why I'm conflicted about my opinion on the show. Like, I do applaud them for the balls to do this. So here's the thing. You can't show, like we said, with the death by butt, right? Mm-hmm. The shot is pretty far away from the other far side of the room. The perspective is like a CCTV kind of a camera look eventually, I think. And so it's implied. You can see woman sitting on man in a very BDSM kind of a setup. And she's like, you like that? And then eventually there's no response. Why? Because your head is gone, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can't show too much there because we know what's going on and that's just disgusting and nobody wants to see that, right?
No.
So you imply it. However, have you ever seen gills being raped? No, you haven't because you didn't think that was a thing, did you?
They graphically show this?
You will see gills being raped.
Oh my God.
Right?
I am not completing the show, Jishnu.
So there you go. But while I applaud their balls to just up the ante consistently and keep going, like by the end of it, one of the best moments in the show is to see somebody's face genuinely get burned through. One of our eye laser beam people does the laser beam thing normally, and we see it a lot. Like there's a lot of eyeball lasers going around, and it's pretty cool. That's some of the VFX work is meh. Some of it is actually really, really good, and this is one of the things that's consistently pretty good.
Yeah.
So by the time we've gotten used to seeing people getting sliced in half by eyeball lasers, you eventually get to see at pretty much point blank range, eyeball looking at another pair of eyeballs and then going full laser, and you see faces being melted in, and it's pretty amazing. And it was one of the few moments where I was like, that was an earned brutal death.
Yeah.
So they have their ups and downs, but their downs...
It was a fatality.
Completely. But their downs are pretty low.
I said the wrong thing. It was a finish him.
It was both.
I mean, yeah.
It was both.
Yeah, he does say both.
But so my point is, it goes all over the place. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I was able to keep watching it is because
you were like, I've seen the human centipedes. This is nothing.
Well, yeah, that never leaves me. It's always in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But it is oddly compelling enough to just be a bingeable thing. I don't know if I'm gonna be into it for the second season. I highly doubt it.
More like buffable.
Yeah, I can't. That's the thing. I can't knock people that don't like it, but I do see why it's being so watched.
Thing,
it's like,
right?
it's not a perfect thing by any means, but I'd give it a solid. Yeah, check it out.
Check it out.
If you can survive 3 episodes, you can finish it for sure. You can finish it.
I'm sure I could finish it.
But
okay,
there are plenty of other fish in the sea for you to watch.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean?
So that.
You're not missing out, is what I'm saying, if you don't see this.
In terms of the quality of the show, if it was this gory, right, I would power through if I felt like it was saying something compelling or telling a story worth hearing.
That's the problem.
I mean, okay, Watchmen isn't the goriest, but it gets fairly dark.
Watchmen has a point which sticks with you. Watchmen is a well rounded thing that stands on its own 2 legs. It's an
amazing story. This is
just something that is like, if it's on, I'll watch it. It's one of those, like, I'm not gonna live with these characters in my head like I have. Like, I was listening to the freaking Sam Jones podcast with Robert Downey Jr. just on the way here because I want to hear his voice again. I'm not gonna have Carl Urban's voice in my head like I have Tony Stark's voice in my head. You know what I mean?
Not.
And in that vein, I don't mean to completely hate on this thing because I don't. Like, I did enjoy it, but I'm not going to remember it.
Okay, I'll tell you why I'm kind of annoyed by the show. I don't hate it exactly. In fact, there were moments which I genuinely found kind of amusing, and there were points that I thought that's not a bad thing to do in the show.
Such as?
Like, there were a couple of gags that I thought were really funny.
Give me the highest point in the first 3 episodes.
probably Carl Urban's entire character was great. I think right in the
And
first episode,
he gets much better. He's definitely the shining beacon.
There's a part where the Invisible Man is being killed, or like at least being attacked by Huey and Carl Urban's character.
Yeah.
And he just like he's trying to electrocute him. So he runs at him with an live electric cable. But it falls short, and he's just yanking like, and I was like, that's kind of funny. So like, essentially, like little slapsticky moments like that, I found funny.
So there's the problem.
Yeah.
If the highest point is a slapstick moment, it doesn't matter who's doing it.
I don't think story-wise there was anything that compelling.
It could be Huey and Butcher, or it could be your mom and your dad.
Yes.
As long as a slapstick moment happens, you're laughing, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, you're not going to remember the
It's
story.
a
You're going to remember
joke, really.
Yeah,
There's nothing to it.
It sticks the landing very well with the absurdist humor. Like, there's so many moments where halfway through, when I'm finally like, okay, I get your story. I don't think it's the best, but I'm into it. I'm in it. I'm in the thick of it. There's no turning back. I'm 6-7 episodes in. I have to commit to this completely. There was so many times in the second half of the series where I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh out loud or if it was a failed gag. I was like, are you being absurdist? So does everybody in the room appreciate how dumb this is?
Like, am I laughing at you or with you?
Yes, I just didn't know. There was so many moments. I was like, this is happening way too much, guys. To the point where I was like, yeah, it's probably not supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
If you're doing it this often.
I know where you're coming from when you say you don't hate this show, but so like I was saying, what annoys me is we're living through this glut of amazing television, really. Because pretty much any streaming platform has at least a couple of shows that are well worth watching. We're in essentially like the third golden era of television. So maybe in the early 90s, this would have been a talked about show and a show that you'd watch and go like, right, it's a gory, edgy superhero show.
Yeah.
Today, it's like, why would I watch this?
Yeah.
It's trying so hard to be offensive, but the worst thing about the show is it's kind of Yeah. That's about it, really. I'll tell you how. Okay, I talked about the part that kind of convinced me that I wasn't going to watch the show because it telegraphed what kind of show it would be. But let's leave all the gore aside.
Sure.
Okay. The part that's most emblematic of the show to me, how like dumb and on the nose it can be, is Huey, Dennis Quaid's character, is basically gets this Morpheus moment from Billy Butcher, and he says, "Let me show you what the superhero world is really like."
He verbatim quotes Morpheus.
Yeah, he literally verbatim quotes Morpheus, and he takes him to this like seedy dive bar kind of place where all the superheroes hang out.
Right.
So first of all, you have like one superhero who gets like super tiny and dives right into a lady's vagina.
Yeah.
You have this other superhero who's apparently like a strident anti-gay activist out in the real world, but in here he's like making out with boys, and he's like a Mr. Fantastic type. Anyway, so Billy Butcher takes Huey to this bank of CCTV cameras and shows him footage of the A-Train. Now, let me remind you, the A-Train is the dude who pulverized
His
girlfriend. So this guy is literally just sitting by himself on a couch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
In a way that literally, like, if I was writing a screenplay, I'd go like, this is what the A-Train is doing. He's doing nothing. He's just sitting on the couch. Like, the director was like, okay, A-Train, just sit there. We have to take a shot. Then another random dude comes up to him and he says like, "Hey man, I heard you hit a girl." And A-Train's like, "Yeah, dude." Like, it's that stilted, the dialogue. And A-Train is laughing about it, where he goes like, I smashed through her so hard that one of her teeth got stuck in my mouth.
Her molar got stuck in my mouth.
Her molar got stuck in my mouth. And he goes like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they both start laughing. Like, aren't we like... Nobody would talk about it that cavalierly. It's like you're writing act villainous in the stage directions. But what's amazing is Huey is watching this on the CCTV. Okay? Now, you as a viewer know that he's shaken by the death of his girlfriend, and now he's watching these guys laugh about it. Obviously, he's shaken. So camera cuts to him, and he looks troubled. And I'm like, man, this is a big moment for him. And then he says, "They're laughing." And I was like, yeah, I can see. There's a beat. And he goes like they don't even care. And I'm like, are you literally just reading out the subtext right now? Was this your actual dialogue?
Well done.
It's not a show don't
Well
tell.
done.
It's like he's reading out his emotional beats like, I am angry because they killed my girlfriend and they're laughing about it. Then he turns to camera and go like, you get it, right? So like, why are you treating me, a highly sophisticated viewer, as such a dumb f***?
Yep. It's a show filled with a really good cast dealing with a pretty meh script.
I know, like, I can't believe they had to like mouth such stupid words.
Yeah. It doesn't get much better. It gets better. It definitely gets better. Not much. But it does.
I found the same thing happening with Starlight's character. Like, she's painted as this like innocent, naive ingenue type who's
stick the landing.
No?
No.
Man, like everything done with her is so on the nose. Like literally, she's a young girl from some southern US state type situation who has always dreamed of the big world, and then she immediately gets drawn into the seedy world. So the first thing that happens to her is she's sexually assaulted. The second thing that happens to her is they say like, your costume's got to be more sexy. The third thing that happens to her is like people start shouting like, show your tits on the street, and I'm like, these are all things that happen and they're important things to talk about. But the way you're talking about them makes them seem cartoonish rather than like real issues. So it's a shame.
You're not wrong. I don't know what to tell you. Nothing you've said is untrue.
Yeah, I know.
It's all facts.
Okay.
There's a silver lining. It's
not
that silver.
Yeah.
It's more like aluminium.
You know what a possible... All of this is happening some months before the Watchmen TV show comes out.
Yeah.
The Watchmen is coming back, helmed by Damon Lindelof. And just before that, we have this. It's like, oh, come on, man. What are you doing?
I forget if the first 3 episodes ended with this, but were you also a little put off by the tackiness of the
entire show?
The pop, the popular song ending credits shtick.
Very on the nose again.
Yeah.
Like, this show is literally like, if I have a idea that seems cheesy, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, they have the song Cherry Bomb after a bomb explodes. They have like Jane's Addiction, and I forget the exact situation, but basically like stop plays when something is not stopping. Really dumb. London Calling playing like at the end of a fight scene with a semi-British guy, I think. Is Billy Butcher British?
I think so. I think that's a British accent. So, fun fact, Homelander, also Kiwi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who is Homelander? He seems really familiar.
Does he?
Yeah, like this big square jawed. He's basically like a...
Anthony Starr.
Anthony Starr.
No H. Just Ant.
Anthony. All
Anthony.
Right. Cool. Let's take a break, come back, wrap up our thoughts on the show, and talk about a interesting cameo.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.
Welcome back. All right. So, Simon Pegg is in the show.
It warms my heart.
What's up with that?
I know. With an American accent.
With an American accent, and he does nothing. At least in whatever I've seen of him. He was in 2 scenes.
He continues doing nothing.
You could have substituted him for anybody.
Here, he's the best metaphor for the entire damn thing.
Right.
I see Simon Pegg on screen. My heart lights up. Simon Pegg is now, and he's playing a dad. I was like, wait, what?
I know.
You're a
dad
DILF?
age?
You're a DILF?
Yeah.
What the hell? When did this happen? So, wow, I feel old because if he's old, that means I'm old. Holy shit. Because I consider Simon Pegg like a bro that I want to get a beer with. Now I'm like, uncle, can we get a beer, I guess? But you're right. He doesn't do very much. But in that vein, he is so good at anything he does. Mm-hmm. Even if it's pretty meh what he's doing, he does the meh really well.
He does it well.
And therefore, he's literally the Diane Lane to Superman. In that vein throughout the show, like he shows up just in time at the right moments to be that but son, shouldn't you? And then son is like, no, but I'm caught up in doing murdery, raping things, and I just blew up a man and stuff like that. And therefore he's the emotional grounding and all that, blah, blah, blah. So he's so textbook. But so is a lot of people. So is most people on this show.
Yes, that's
However, he, like a lot of people, if not the vast majority of them, I think are cast really well. So they're doing pretty okay lines really, really well. So I can't knock anybody for trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I see what you're doing.
Also, Simon Pegg was clearly like doing a favor here.
Completely.
You know why he was on the show? Because I looked it up.
Why was he?
Okay, so Garth Ennis and the illustrator, like the creators of The Boys, the graphic novel series, based the main character, Huey, his look, on Simon Pegg. So in the comics, Huey looks a lot like Simon Pegg, apparently.
Which version?
The young Simon Pegg, I suppose, because this series is from the early 2000s.
So like Shaun of the Dead.
I suppose
I
so,
guess.
yeah, probably that era of Simon Pegg. And so clearly they phoned him up and went like, hey, remember that character who is based on you, kinda? It's like a Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson thing. They're like, yeah, we're making a show of it. Why don't you pop up? And obviously Seth Rogen probably made that call. So Simon Pegg was like, yeah, sure, I'll pop up. So clearly phoning it in, doing a favor, doing an okay job, but also, why? There's one point where he tells his son, you don't have to do this. And I was like, yep, you don't have to do this entire show. And Jimmy Fallon cameos as himself. Also doing a good job, because if superheroes existed in that world, the interview segment that they play with him is exactly how I imagine Jimmy Fallon interviewing superheroes.
Completely.
Where he's talking to the Invisible Man, he's like, okay, so you have to be like completely naked when you're invisible? And the audience goes like, ooh, and I was like, yep, that sounds about right. Who else cameos? You tell me there are other big names in the future.
Towards the end of it, there's a scene where Starlight is at a sort of pseudo Comic-Con, but like a B-grade Comic-Con for like people that didn't quite make the cut. And the point of that scene is to like show like who could have been or who is in the superhero game and on some sort, but not quite cutting it. So it's meant to be like, oh crap, she's here. Like, oh no, you're in this place.
Right.
Playing herself is Tara Reid.
What?
Exactly.
Why?
Because
As Tara
cameos.
Reid, the star of Sharknado?
Yes,
Wow.
pretty much.
Weird.
Amongst a handful that I'm that's slipping my mind right now, but it's basically just it's a plethora of just washed up people. You eventually do find a pretty decently compelling character in a Haley Joel Osment.
What? I love Haley Joel Osment.
Exactly, and he does a
Especially-
pretty damn good job.
Yeah?
He plays a superhero. This isn't giving too much away, I don't think. He plays a superhero who's sort of like Mantis, in that she's an empath. He is, I guess, telepath, but
Okay.
he needs to touch people.
Does he see
to-
dead people?
He can see your dead people.
I see.
So if he touches you, he will see your dead people.
Right. Like a medium.
He's a medium. Yes, exactly.
Right.
So he is that girl in question that you see on the poster that I shouldn't really say too much about.
Okay.
She's the one of the biggest MacGuffins in the show. The fact that you don't know much about her, but she is also a superhuman type person, and a big B plot line is figuring out what's her deal. And obviously the medium comes into play, and he's like, yo, medium, touch this woman, tell me about her. And he does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
It's very textbook, because it's like,
yo,
hey,
medium, write a blog about
because
this.
because also, okay, I'll tell you this, it doesn't give too much away. When the first time you see
Oh, I'm not going to watch the show anymore, so please feel free.
this is for the benefit of our dear listener.
Oh, dear listeners, don't watch the show.
When you meet let's call a woman X, she is very much in a Weapon X situation,
Okay.
to the letter.
Right.
She is imprisoned. The boys come in, they're like, yo, why is lady in jail? Let's free lady. Lady is freed, and immediately like fists straight through, open fist straight through your sternum,
Yes.
pulling out your heart.
This has happened.
And-
Even Homelander does that at one point. To some random
Everybody
dude.
does this.
Jeez.
Everybody does this. So she
It's
plays
like
she plays your Wolverine
It's the boys'
archetype.
handshake.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
She plays the Wolverine archetype who meets the a lesser Professor X type, and
Okay.
and he's got to be like, yo, figure this person out. But then you have the intermediary, which is your Bill Butcher, being like, yo, that's all cool and all, but let's not get a contact high from all the superhero awesomeness.
Yeah.
Which is the endearing part of the thing. The fact that there's a lot of insane VFX work done to like really show the power and the prowess of the superheroes. And while we recognize the nods, like, oh, Homelander, Superman, oh, that guy's Aquaman, like that event, that dies down pretty quick because they do a solid job of like owning it. Like I see Homelander as his own identity, like in the pantheon. Like he's a really one of the most well-rounded characters, very well acted.
I will say he is the one guy who seemed like an interesting character to me because he was doing stuff that was really not what I expect in a lot of parts. Like his boss at the Watt Corporation is Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah,
who I haven't seen in ages.
I know.
Yeah,
where do I know her from? She's one of those.
She was
faces.
in a bunch of those like 80s movies of. Was she in a John Hughes movie?
I believe it.
A bunch of them. Like basically, yeah. I can't remember which one's exactly right now, but yeah, you know her.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Same with Jennifer Esposito.
Is she in this?
She's maybe, have you not met her yet? She's the CIA friend of Bill Butcher.
No. Okay, that hasn't come up yet. Jennifer Esposito. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was saying, so Elizabeth Shue's character is the boss of the Watt Corporation, and she has a kid.
Yeah.
And Homelander has this like weird sibling rivalry sort of dynamic with the baby.
Yeah.
So at one point, she's just like patting the baby on the back, and she turns away, and Homelander gives him like this, "I'm gonna kill you, baby. Look, please tell me he doesn't kill the baby." Oh my God!
I'm saying no words, but that's absolutely right. He is a very close second to Bill Butcher with regard to a reason to watch this. No, not brutality, but yes, for sure brutality. But for a reason to watch this.
Yes.
If I do at all get into the second season, which I mean I might, because it's weird enough that if they tweak the knobs appropriately, this can be really good. It has potential. Like I'm into the characters. Like as just their own standalone personalities, I like these guys. I'm with them.
Yeah.
The way they're being handled right now, not so much. But I like the guys. I just want to see them presented better.
Tell me if you agree with this comparison. Do you remember Wanted, the James McAvoy, Angelina Jolie movie?
No.
Morgan Freeman?
No.
Oh, what?
Good?
No. Very like The Boys. Not as gory.
Sure.
But again, based on a graphic novel. It has James McAvoy as an everyman type who basically gets this call to action to join this super secret group of assassins who have throughout history assassinated people to change the course of the world, to protect it essentially. And they do this by reading names that are generated by a handloom that weaves the names into threads. It's a very weird movie.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of curving a bullet?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna spoil this movie for you. It's unimportant.
Sure.
But basically, there's this technique called curving a bullet, where basically you fling your arm up while shooting a gun, so that the bullet takes not a parabolic. Basically, it takes an arcing path. So your bullet doesn't have to go straight if you can curve a bullet.
Jesus.
So Angelina Jolie knows how to curve a bullet. Morgan Freeman's the boss of this secret organization. He knows how to curve a bullet. James McAvoy joins the organization, and he's like, I don't know how to curve a bullet. But in the end, Angelina Jolie managed to save him because all the assassins, the villains, are standing in a circle, and Angelina Jolie just goes like, shoop, and curves a bullet through all of their heads. I'll tell you how dumb this movie is and how like on the nose cheesy it is. James McAvoy narrates the entire thing, and he basically goes from being like an office dweeb to a badass assassin saving the world. And the last scene is him looking at the camera and going like, so that's what I've done. What have you done with your fucking life? It's
damn.
That's how dumb the show is. It's like that movie. Again,
I mean, I think that movie sounds dumber than this show, but this show's pretty dumb.
Yes.
It's a
Okay, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say it's the final question.
Okay.
Why are they called The Boys, and does it ever come up?
I've been asking this question every episode.
They never say. It's we're a gang of boys over here.
I watched some press junket thingy where they showed a clip from apparently the first episode where he just casually mentions as you would in a regular conversation. He when Butcher meets Huey, he says, "Come with me to the place, the lair, wherever the hell they're going." And he says, "Why?" And he says, "I've rounded the boys up."
That's it.
And that was the first time he said it. And then at the end of towards the yeah, I think like the last episode or second last episode, at some point, he's also on the phone with Jennifer Esposito, his friend in the CIA. He's being an informant to her, and he says, yeah, here's all the stuff you need to know. Now please come and help me. It's me and the boys versus these guys. I was like, great.
Wow.
Thanks for that.
This is...
It was one of my biggest gripes.
It just sounds lazy.
It was one of my biggest gripes. I was like, why have you named this show this? I was like, oh yeah, because it's based on the thing. This is like one of those. It's like,
why did they name the show that?
Yeah, it's just like,
what is
you
like,
can change.
Garth Ennis wrote a series about a preacher, and they were like, what are you calling it, Garth? Preacher. It's called Preacher.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, and what about this one, which is about a bunch of guys fighting thing? It's called The Boys.
It's like, if I can use Speed as a reference again for the millionth time, I'm really glad they didn't call it Bus.
Yes.
You know, it's like, that's a good name. Speed is a good name for that movie. It's like, nail on
They
head.
didn't call it Bus.
It's nail on head, yet ambiguous enough that you don't know, but it's a strong word. It's like speed. Like that could go in a number of different ways. It could be about, you know, like Tokyo Drift Part 17, or it could be about a bus.
I feel like a name should capture the spirit of the story. The Boys is the most generic thing ever. It sounds like a high school comedy.
Yeah.
And it's not. In fact, Seth Rogen, at this very same moment, is also promoting a movie called Good Boys.
Yep.
He's got two, like a show called Boys Out, which is about gritty superheroes, and a movie called Good Boys, which is basically Superbad but with 13-year-olds.
He is getting baked and laughing his ass off running to the bank.
I suppose
Being
so.
like, I did that.
But that's how generic this name is. Good Boys is also a fairly terrible name. Yeah. Superbad is a cool name.
There's a
because
Good
it captures the
Fellas.
spirit.
There's a Good Fellas, and somebody's like, I'll make a Good Boys. It's like, all right, cool.
Oh, Lord.
Good luck to you, buddy.
These lazy people coming up with lazy names for things. It's almost like if we were Geek Fruit and we said, what if we had a podcast and called it the Geek Fruit Podcast?
Hey, we were once almost geeking.
Why
There's
were we
some,
almost
there's some
geeking?
trivia. You remember that, right? That was a thing.
Yes, I do remember. I remember...
I think it was the serious closest competitor, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah, not for more than like half an hour, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember saying Geek Fruit and then all of us going like, that's not the best name.
You said Geek Fruit? I forgot who came up with it. Was it you?
I believe it was me.
Okay.
And I think it was because we were talking about how some of the other companies around us call things like Kodak Apple, which is the record label that Tejas and Krish started, and Mosambi Juice, who's doing some great work, Moju Productions, that you and Krish handled. And I was like, wow, so what should we call this Geek Fruit? And then there was a pause and we were like, okay, put that down, I guess. 3 days later, we were like, cool, I guess that's what we're called now.
Yep.
Anyway, this is the Geek Fruit Podcast.
Take
this
it
is
and
what
go.
we talk about. Don't watch The Boys, man. There's better stuff to watch. Jishnu, do you want to talk about Good Omens at some point?
No.
No?
I mean,
Let's watch it.
it's past its prime now, isn't it?
Well, okay, maybe we don't have to talk about it in the show, but past its prime. I see what you did
See what I did?
It's still on Prime, though.
Here's the thing.
I can't believe you haven't
I'm
watched
so
it.
proud of the fact that we covered The Boys as quickly as we did, because it only like just came out. Like late July is when
I
it came
genuinely
out.
don't know if anybody cares about it.
That's the problem. We made a bad
Yeah.
decision, but
Yeah.
we made a good decision in that we were able to finally speak in a timely fashion about a TV show.
That's true.
The last time I did something like this was for like freaking Luke Cage season 2, where we were so on it that I
Yeah.
binged 13 episodes in 48 hours of freaking Luke Cage. At least it was season 1.
You know what? Luke Cage can get
Season
pretty
1,
bad,
I'll take
but I
it.
feel like Luke Cage is more fun just because it leans into how over the top it can be. This show feels like it's trying to be serious but also dumb. That's what annoys me about it.
Yeah. You're not
Anyway,
wrong.
this has been the Geek Fruit Podcast. Don't watch The Boys, and you can write in thanking us for saving 8 hours of your life. And you can write in thanking us for saving 8 hours of your life at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com or at GeekFruitHQ on all the socials. Bye, The Boys.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!